Westminster College, located in Salt Lake City, Utah, is a center of learning and cherished alma mater to thousands of professionals across the world. Founded in 1875, Westminster's purpose has been clear and direct since its conception: to prepare students to lead lives of learning, accomplishment, and service in a diverse and interdependent world. The Gore School of Business, located at the heart of campus, has seen its alumni go on to great and manifold heights throughout the global economy. With a mission to prepare people who think critically, act responsibly, and make a difference, Gore sees its students go on to change the world. The following is a series of interviews featuring recent and near-term graduates of Westminster College's Bill and Vive Gore School of Business, hosted by Professor Richard Haskell.
Okay. So Ashlyn, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you spending some time as we are kicking off our Grads of Gore series. And I thought that you were a great one to start this with, because I think you're a grad of Gore and a grad of Gore.
Right.
Right? So tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your experience in the Gore School of Business.
Awesome. Yes. So my name is Ashlyn Talcott, as you know. And I'm 22 and really passionate about my education, and I've just had such a wonderful experience here at Westminster. I started fall 2018 and went right in, kind of knew what I wanted to do. So I spent 3 years and double majored in business management and finance. So definitely got to work.
So you got one very valuable major and then a good one also, right?
Yeah, I think of it as qualitative, quantitative, kind of that duality was important to me. And right away I knew kind of the career aspirations that I have. I knew I needed to kind of get that next level of education as well, both for the knowledge and kind of the credibility. I think it opened some doors for sure. So I went right into the MBA program here at Westminster, and currently trying to do that in 4 semesters, so I'm anticipating graduation this December.
And you're looking at 4 semesters because you're doing that working full-time, and you might actually have a social life?
Yeah.
A little bit? Okay, so you have a private life. Okay.
Not much.
Is that a big stretch to do in 4 semesters?
You know, it's been intense. I juggle about 4 to 5 classes a semester, but what I've loved about the MBA program is that things really happen in terms, kind of more quarters, and it's very friendly for an individual who works full-time. So all the classes are at evening. They're typically 1 day a week as opposed to a couple days a week. So I'm able to kind of fit those in without too many overlaps. So I've really loved it. I think it's very accommodating to my working life.
So I think a lot of us look at a master's program, and an MBA program clearly is a master's program, right?
Right.
We look at that and think, well, that must be a quantum leap above and beyond what you experienced as a senior in, well, in your case, finance and in management. Did you find it to be a quantum leap in terms of the level of challenge, rigor, difficulty? Or did you find that your senior and junior level courses here prepared you nicely for your MBA courses here?
Yeah, absolutely the latter. I think I've loved the graduate program, even more so than the undergrad. I love the undergrad, but what I've loved so much about this program is in undergrad, we kind of looked at the fundamentals and we had a good amount of knowledge that we gained. But in the graduate level, we take those fundamentals and we get to go that much further, where there's kind of a higher level of expectations as graduate students. And likewise, we do a lot of kind of dependent work on our peers. So we do a lot of group work, depend on the people we're in the classroom with. So I think the classes in undergraduate prepared me so well with the fundamentals. And also at Westminster, I think there's always just this high status of our academic standing. I think our faculty members are outstanding. Really kind of my peers were always really ambitious, and so we kind of could build on that. So I think the level of challenge and expectation I was prepared for, being that I got my undergraduate here. But I will say the biggest leap was just being able to tackle these concepts in a much deeper way, getting to see them definitely more kind of the real world application and current business knowledge.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about group work, and I know that many undergraduate students can't stand when they're assigned a group project. And I think that's largely because they're concerned about somebody in the group not pulling their weight or not being able to mesh schedules and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that same concern when it comes to doing group work in a master's program?
Yeah, that really hits home for me. When I was an undergraduate student, I was the same way. I liked that independence. I really liked if there was an option, I always kind of did the solo thing. But what I've loved and what's been so eye-opening is now I have a complete preference towards group work. I mean, the level of students, just the drive, the intelligence in the graduate program are just, they push me to be my highest self, and they bring so much learning to the classroom as well as the faculty members. So I'm not only learning kind of this way, but from my peers. And so definitely I love group work, and that's been really eye-opening to me and kind of this new skill set that I've had to learn as well.
Well, and I mention this in part because I remember you as an undergraduate. We had more than 1 or 2 classes together, and I remember you didn't like to do group work because you were always pushing and maybe not everybody else was.
Right, a little bit.
Well, let's move away from education for a minute, because you're just about done with that. You've done very well. You're highly regarded. You've accomplished some good things for yourself. Let's talk about the job market. So here you are in your master's program. You've got a full-time job. Tell us a little bit about where you are professionally now as you finished your undergraduate degrees and are working on your master's.
Yeah, so professionally, I work full-time here, and I am the administrative manager and adjunct coordinator here, so that definitely keeps me busy. Where I see myself in the future is I want to take advantage of some of the in-depth finance knowledge I've taken, and so, I mean, the job market right now, so much potential there. I've had some early introductions that I'm really excited about. I think that's a great testament to kind of the networking and the connection building here at Westminster. I've really found that people will put their neck out for you. They'll really vouch for you, and I've appreciated that. And so I'm excited once I can kind of wrap up my master's degree. I wouldn't mind even, getting pulled to the West Coast, doing some stuff there. But I think it's a lot of great opportunity, especially in the finance world.
So you're working in a management position now.
Right.
You've got some management and finance chops. Your MBA program gives you a little bit more of those. What's the dream job? Whether it's on the West Coast or the East Coast, whatever it is, what's the dream job?
Yeah, so I love numbers. That's kind of the way my mind works. It's very analytical, kind of more of the right side of my brain drives a lot of my day-to-day decisions. However, I love that leadership. I love management. I've always found when I'm kind of in a group setting, I naturally evolve to the leader and kind of like to get, the gears going. And so that's always been something I'm very passionate about. So my dream job, and I'm looking to get some more kind of credentials to help me get there, is a project management job. And I would love to do that in a space where I could also kind of delve into those skills I have with finance. But really, finance runs the world. I mean, numbers, the resources.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I mean, everywhere you go, that's going to be the back of, what's keeping everything turning. But I would love to see myself a project management of kind of a tech company, software company, something kind of fast-paced and really exciting.
Well, and you're still pretty early stage career, but that'll change in a big way as you start to take on responsibilities that are coincident with that master's degree of yours.
Right.
That's where maybe a quantum leap may be expected in terms of responsibilities, outcomes, opportunities.
Absolutely.
So, if I remember correctly, almost a year ago, you bought your first home.
I did, yeah, August.
In the middle of a housing market that scared most people half to death. What were you thinking?
I thought I credit a lot of it to luck. I simply had good fortune, but I also just knew, I kind of had this foresight that I don't think we're going to see the housing market level out anytime soon, which turned out to be accurate. I kind of knew it was going to continue on this upward slope. And so I decided it was almost a now or never moment. I was going to dive in. It really, a million a million things worked out just perfectly for me to get in there. I was very fortunate, but it was good timing. I mean, with the higher prices, we know that the interest rates were low, so I was able to get locked in at an incredible interest rate. So that also made it a lot more feasible for me.
Well, and I don't know exactly where the house is or exactly what its price movement has been, but on average in the market in that time frame, here it's been 30% or so price movement.
Right.
So that's become an extraordinary investment in a relatively short period of time. Mm-hmm. We'll see how that pans out.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Is this a bubble? You said you don't think things are going to flatten out anytime soon. Is this a bubble, or is this a sustained price movement because of demand issues?
I actually would not consider it to be a house bubble. I think that we've seen that the demand is there and it is justified. Whether that be the growing population, especially here in Utah, we have a lot of folks coming from the West Coast and coming to live over here. I also know that during the pandemic, a lot of folks were looking, now that they have these increases in remote opportunities, they wanted a sanction in their house where they could do that job. So they were looking to kind of upgrade, get places with offices, stuff like that. So I don't think that we're in a housing market. I do think that the levels of kind of this exponential growth, I don't think that will continue on at such the rate that we've seen. I will say I think they will kind of balance out, but I don't think this is going to be anything like the 2008 housing market crash.
Well, we're going to hope you're right.
Right.
So, Federal Reserve, increased interest rates,
Mm-hmm.
mortgage rates have gone up. I know it's a little bit different than housing prices and such, but because we're talking the residential real estate market, they're connected. How do you see that affecting the ability to buy a first home or even a second home or a second time home for people in this marketplace?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to create a new level of challenge. I know kind of the duality between inflation and interest rates. They're trying to kind of keep that inflation down by hiking up the interest rates there. But ultimately, I think it is going to create a new challenge for some new first-time home buyers.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're right. So, final item then. 4 years of undergraduate. Three, okay, because you're an overachiever. I forgot for just a brief moment. So 3 years of undergraduate, 4 semesters of graduate school, and you're working here on campus. So you're pretty immersed in this place. I mean, you kind of are Westminster at this point, right?
Definitely.
Okay, a Griffin through and through. What's been the defining moment? What's been the one thing that you've experienced that you said, that's my Westminster experience?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, I could probably come up with the one defining, but really I would say it's more of this one theme, and that is just the support and community here. And I think that happens in a lot of different micro experiences that I've had, whether it's, you know, my colleague throwing my name in the bucket for a really great networking opportunity, or whether it's, you know, kind of going through some personal stuff and having my team pick up my slack and being so supportive. You know, whether it's my peers, how coming up with these new innovative ideas that we bounce off each other and just have such a great learning experience. I can't picture myself anywhere else. It's the community that really keeps me here, why I jumped right into schooling. I was like, I'm not ready to leave Westminster yet. I have so much more to give to this school, and, you know, they have so much more to give me as well. So I think just, you know, when I think of Westminster, it's just that support and that culture.
Well, as I remember, you had kind of an interesting experience this last year with that, as you had an opportunity to travel with about 70 other graduate students and guests to Dubai.
Right.
How pivotal is an exposure like that? I mean, Dubai is all glitz, glamour, money, transactions, fast-paced, etc. At least that's the way the world sees it.
Right.
You and I now have seen it somewhat differently than that in some respects. How pivotal was that to your master's experience here being truly memorable and really valuable?
Yeah, I think candidly I can say that that international experience was life-changing. Not only as a student, as a person and as a professional. That's something that, and that's similar sentiments to pretty much everyone I talked to that was part of that kind of cohort that traveled there. We got to just experience such a different part of the world, and I loved kind of the balance of the educational experience because we learned about the culture and we also learned about the business aspects. And so that's why I think it really kind of helped us in a holistic way of seeing some of that global experience. I think, we know in the world of globalization, the connectedness is just going to keep happening. I mean, we're already seeing, a simple phone call to the other side of the world. It's incredible. And we're only going to go further and further in that direction. So I think that experience was so pivotal to me personally, and that, now that you mention it, that was truly a defining moment of my Westminster experience. I mean, it was incredible.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because as you'll recall, I had a little bit to do with that trip and enjoyed being on the trip with you and so many others.
Yeah.
Well, Ashlyn, thank you for spending some time. When I said you kind of are Westminster, I'm not joking. I mean, you embody a tremendous amount of the experience here, and you've had a tremendous amount of the experience. But I've enjoyed being able to see you go from very young undergraduate student that was sometimes confident and sometimes less so, to graduate student to colleague, and that's the transition that the faculty love seeing students make.
Yeah.
So thanks for spending some time with us today, and there's a lot more, right?
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.